And like I talked to a friend of mine, Dickie from the Boss Tones, the lead singer from the band the Boss Tones, and he was like, "Yeah, I moved."
That's such a weird flex. And don't get me wrong, I like the Boss Tones in high school, but that's definitely a celeb flex. Like, that's one of them, right? It's like, oh yeah, when I was just hanging out with Franco. Oh, that's James Franco. You might have heard of him. Yeah, he's an actor. It's really casual. Anyways, not a big deal. We're just friends. We see each other every other day or something. It's just not. Anyways, it's not the point of the story. There's this thing that's been going on lately, which is this giant exodus. I'm sure some of you have heard. Everyone's leaving California. Everyone's leaving LA. All the big producers. Joe Rogan, he doesn't want to be there anymore, right? Ben Shapiro doesn't want to be there either. They're all leaving. There's this mass exodus, and they want to go to other parts, and they're leaving for a very specific reason.
To LA, it kind of I always thought of LA and even California for sure as kind of that hot blonde from high school that was always the belle of the ball, didn't have to study very hard, phone rang every Friday night for a date, really was able to kind of get by on her looks and kind of cruise.
Hey,
and now that blonde is 47 years old and not the belle of the ball anymore. And, if you listen to Gavin Newsom, that guy, I've heard interviews with him going, "Hey, man, where are you going to go?" It's like the 47-year-old blonde saying to the football star, "Hey, don't you want some of this?" And it's like, no, I can find some of that in Texas or Arizona or Nevada.
Whoa, that was the clip that Dave Rubin was like, "That's the one. We got it. That's premium comedy. If I put that at the start of the video, people will click on it and then I'll get more subs."
I'm Dave Rubin and this is the Rubin Report. Joining me today is a best-selling author, co-star of the wonderful documentary No Safe Spaces, and host of the Adam Carolla Show podcast. Adam Carolla, welcome back to the Rubin Report.
Always good to be back, Dave.
All right, Carolla, we got a lot to do here because this is my last interview of 2020. And we said, who can we get on the show to end the year that is not completely fucking bananas? And you were on the short list. There were only about two.
Wow. So this is it. This is the zenith. This was the best of the best. I mean, he's, of course, doing the shtick where he's like, well, it's everyone we talk to, it's just, they just want to talk about safe spaces, and they all want to burn my book, but not you. You're the only one.
You're on the short list of Dave Rubin's sane people. How does that make you feel?
When I write my next autobiography, it's going to be titled From the Short Bus to the Short List, the Adam Carolla story. Nice to be on the short list.
Yes, you have done it, my friend. All right, first off, I got to ask you something.
How do you think I should open this one? I got a lot of potentials in the back pocket. What do you think? Should I make fun of mentally disabled kids? Is that one gonna that'll land? Your audience will get it. They'll get it.
Because there is a rumor going around town. My guys, my team, seem to believe this rumor that you're moving to Texas. Now, when I talk about short lists, on my short list of LA people, I got Adam Carolla, I got Dennis Prager, I got Larry Elder, John Voight. That's it. Are you leaving us? You're going to Houston?
No, not just yet. I did a hit on Tucker Carlson, I guess last week, and they brought the van to my house. And Tucker always does the when you leave in LA. Yeah. And I think he grew up in, I think, LA and San Diego. So a lot of the guys, and him and Shapiro are the two when you leave in LA guys, because they were in LA and they left, and I've always been in LA. So just off the cuff, because we're in this van that was a satellite van, I just, as an improvisational comedian, I just said, "Oh, Tucker, as soon as this hits over, I'm going to commandeer this van and I'm driving to Houston." And for some reason, that didn't come across as a joke to a lot of people. But you should have seen that it was a joke, people, because if I was going to Houston, I would certainly do it on a Southwest flight. I don't think I'd commandeer
you wouldn't
$250,000 satellite van.
You wouldn't take the satellite van from Fox News and drive that all the way to Texas. You do it first class on Southwest. I get it.
I feel like just from a mileage standpoint, it would cost much more to take that satellite van.
All right. This is so awkward. Just watching two failed comedians kind of just like square off. Battle for the unfunnies.
So I'm glad to hear it. Sounds like you're staying for a little bit. But I did have you over for dinner a couple months ago, and you said you were on a 3-year plan. And we're watching Cali just fall apart. I'm a native New Yorker, but I've been here 7 years. You're from SoCal, man. What the high hell is going on here?
Yeah, my kids are just getting into high school, if you want to call it getting into high school, because I walked into both their bedrooms this morning and they're both laying in bed with their covers over them. And I went, hey, I thought it was school time. And they're like, we're on the Zoom class from underneath a comforter. What's happened to LA, it kind of, I always thought of LA and even California for sure as kind of that hot blonde from high school that was always the belle of the ball, didn't have to study very hard, phone rang every Friday night for a date, really was able to kind of get by in her looks and kind of cruise. And now that blonde is 47 years old and not the belle of the ball anymore. And, if you listen,
I'm sure, as you know, and I've explained this before, the value and worth of a woman is basically whether or not I want to fuck her. So based on that, this country and this town and this city, I guess they're not up to snuff anymore. I don't really feel like it, okay? I just can't be bothered. Don't want to take a couple of those happy pills. I'm just going to skip over this because we've heard
mountains. We got Disneyland. We got all this great stuff. So it's like, well, what about how hospitable you are to business? Well, don't worry about that. We got Malibu.
Right.
And what they didn't really factor on, I mean, there's a few things. First off, smart people don't want to just hang out and be essentially abused by their government. That's number one. Number two, there's a part of it that's just practical. Like, I grew up out here. My mom had a VW Squareback. She had like a 70s VW station wagon. My dad drove a VW Bug. Forget about driving to Arizona. We couldn't get to Van Nuys from North Hollywood without the thing vapor locking. And like, I talked to a friend of mine, Dickie from the Boss Tones, the lead singer from the band the Boss Tones, and he was like, "Yeah, I moved."
That's such a weird flex. And don't get me wrong, I like the Boston's in high school, but that's definitely a celeb flex. Like, that's one of them, right? It's like, oh yeah, when I was just hanging out with Franco. Oh, that's James Franco. You might have heard of him. Yeah, he's an actor. It's really casual. Anyways, not a big deal. We're just friends. We see each other every other day or something. It's not. Anyways, it's not the point of my story. That's what he's doing right now. But he's doing one of the members of the Boston's.
Arizona. I'm like, oh.
But actually, that's sadder for me. That's a flex where I'm like, oh no, really? The mighty Boston's? Oh, come on.
So you got to go. He's like, the drive's not bad. I got a great car. It's got it's got Sirius XM and a heater in the seat, and it's like it's not that big deal. Like, physically, the transportation, the 10 flights a day that are going from Burbank to Phoenix or Jet Suite X, like you can get to Salt Lake City in 55 minutes. Like, there's a kind of tangible mechanical part of this, which is when I was a kid, if you wanted to move, like buying a ticket on an airline was a big deal, like packing up a Ryder truck. Again, physically didn't have cars that could make it, It's all kind of doable now.
So what do you think the future of this town is? I think you probably have a couple Hollywood friends that still talk to you. I've got one or two that would not be happy if I mentioned their name. But do you think that this town is just now condemned between Garcetti at the city level and Newsom at the state level? Do you think we are just truly condemned, and now Gascon, this new DA, he's not going to arrest people for prostitution or resisting arrest or a series of other things? Like, how much worse can it get, do you think?
Well, maybe just a little bit, and then maybe it's time, like a horrible alcoholic. Maybe this is I've stolen my kid's piggy bank. I'm going to break it open to buy some malt liquor, and I now catch a glance of myself in the mirror, and I've hit rock bottom. Like, maybe that see you in the mirror thing, maybe we're there. I was thinking about Gaston. It's like, loitering's not going to be a problem. Trespassing, not going to be a problem. Underage drinking.
So that's what it really comes down to. It's the pores. It's always been the pores. That's what they've been complaining about for a while, by the way. I've heard interviews with Carolla and Joe Rogan where they're just like, oh, you can't. Sorry, not those two specifically with each other, but independent interviews where the two of them are talking about how, yes, at the end of the day, it's a terrible thing what's happened to LA. Just tent cities everywhere, and just filthy vagrants all around us. It's changed, LA used to be a city that I wanted to put my penis into, but now I'm worried about doing so. Could damage my penis.
Prostitution's not going to be a problem, and I thought, where the fuck was this guy when I was in high school? I could have really used this DA when I was in high school.
Not only that, you can steal up to $900. That's what they're telling you. You can steal a PlayStation 5 and like 7 games, but you go into the 8-game range, now you're in trouble.
Yeah, it all seems like a very eerie harbinger, but yeah. I hear you brought up Hollywood,
a PlayStation.
Like Hollywood friends. If you think about this, Los Angeles, Hollywood, LA, always been the sort of hub of production, right? And everything was filmed. Everything, every TV show anyone ever saw around the world was filmed in, Burbank or Culver City or somewhere in Hollywood. I mean, I've been on I've been to all the stages. I've been to all the lots. I used to be at Hollywood Center Studios doing the Man Show, and we did Crank Anchors there. I did Loveline there. Yeah. And at a certain point, they started getting greedy. They started over-regulating. They started overtaxing. And so what did the most liberal people on the planet do? They started drifting into Atlanta. They started going to Canada, started going to Prague. I mean, they literally just left. So it was called...
So there you have it, everyone. We have it. We have modern right-wing economic theory for you. So basically, it's the libs who tax the artists too much. Because of that, there was the flight. I won't say white flight, but we'll just say there was the flight out, and then they went to, let's just say, Atlanta, and then we're left with the poors. That's how this all happened. That's basically it, in a nutshell.
And at some point, some semi-sober person thought, we can't just have all of this money just physically leaving the state. And they course-corrected a little bit. They were like, well, why don't we offer some incentives for these businesses, Hollywood, not to leave the state, to do all, as I probably told.
Sorry to interrupt here. Why do you think the industry in Hollywood started going to other places, namely to Vancouver? And I can help you out here. I can be more than just an Andy. I can be a anecdote Andy, because I worked in the film industry in Vancouver, and it's true. We started getting a lot of productions, a lot of LA productions. They're very close by. They're both on the West Coast, and then there's just one small little border, and you cross into it. It happened to be because the labor was cheaper. Yeah, the labor was cheaper than LA, mostly in large part due to the fact that the US dollar is stronger than the Canadian dollar. There was a large industry that was set up there, but that's kind of what happens under capitalism.
I drove from this studio where I am sitting right now. Bryan Cranston came in and did the show. Brian's a good guy. He's probably one of the more liberal guys in Hollywood. And he said, I got to catch an Uber to the Burbank airport.
Just casual day, hanging out with Bryan Cranston. Oh, and the other thing, yes, people are pointing out, this is also very true. Incentives. You wouldn't know this, but Saskatchewan doesn't seem like a place where a lot of TV shows would have been made. There was a period where there was a boon in Saskatchewan for television shows because all of a sudden they did these tax incentives, which was the city saying, we want to have film productions, we want to have them come in here, so we're going to reduce the amount that you will have to pay in taxes. British Columbia did the same thing. British Columbia did a huge amount of tax incentivization to bring in all these productions, and ideally, if you can bring in these productions, we'll create these industries, which will create more jobs, which is the entire perpetual cycle. And again, the strong American dollar versus the Canadian dollar. If a city like Vancouver can look like LA, if we can make it look like San Francisco, if we can make it look like all these places, but you have to pay a fraction of what you would pay to film in LA, then they'll follow that. And it's not because they suddenly are traitors to America or don't want to spend that money in the local economy. It's because they want to save money to make more money. It just makes sense.
And I said, I'll drive you to the Burbank airport. It's 4 miles away. Then we jumped in my car. And while we were driving there, he was explaining that Breaking Bad was supposed to be filmed out here. But of course, they're going to New Mexico to film. And of course, they lost all that money and all the tourism dollars and all that kind of stuff. So at some point, they kind of wised up and they said, let's give some incentives for these guys to stay. And I got to believe at some point, they're going to try to do that with business.
If you're looking for more honest and thoughtful conversation.
Jesus, Dave, what's going on? All right, Dave, we're gonna need the outro to your show. It's gonna be basically every time there's a YouTube video, this video will play. So why don't you go in the back room, do all of the cocaine, do just like all the cocaine that is humanly possible, and then right when you're on the verge of like, ooh, will he, won't he, come out, and then you'll be ready. You'll be poised, just perfect for the occasion. Just get out there and then scream, literally scream at the audience, because that's what gets them. That's what gets them excited. Please and thank you.
What lies around the corner, never knowing who's going to kill you. Are you the next one to be murked? You never know if it's a friend or a foe. If you want to see the biggest names in BreadTube and Left Twitch and Butterthing and I don't know the fucking names anymore, come see Left Among Us.
If you want us to advertise your channel or work, please go to weareserfs.com and email us a 20 to 30 second ad, and we'll take it on to the end of one of our videos to help promote your leftist channel or progressive something. Whatever you do.
To our God, I'm Raft, Xander Corvus, and Schlatsky. We shall commit blood sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, our lives are yours to command. To our lords, Jeffrey Lamb, Trevor R., Stephen, Hans Josephine, Poppy Nelson, Ryan Lubin, Jimothy K. Meeblebeeps Jr., we bow meekly for your pleasure. To our Knights of the Round Table, Josh Mickelson, Dylan Bythe, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, Todd Lajeunesse, Political Puppy, Jimmy Bignuts, Andreas Chitoro, Good Poon Hates Cops, That's Solid Poon Then, Dr. Zayas, Yopi, Violent Orchard, Sophie Baby, Jack Darko, Thomas Barretton, J. Fraser Cartwright, Goofalankius, Melissa Murphy, Nicholas Marks, Alexander Thaler, Ali Rada Jaffer, Alex Gauvin, Radical Maniac, we salute you.